Hi,
Hi, how are
how
you?
are you?
Doing good.
Thank you for being on the podcast, Dr. OZ. That's my special guest, y'all.
Thanks for inviting me.
For those that are tuning in for the first time, I am so happy to have our special guest today. The Wellness and Wahala podcast gives you great public health tips. For those of you who don't know what Wahala means in Nigerian Pidgin English, it means issues and problems. So we go give you great gist on how to and tackle various Wahalas. So thank you for tuning in, Dr. OZ. Thank you for being our guest, though.
Thanks for inviting me. No wahala.
So for you all, let me tell you, this girl is a queen, Dr. Ozzy. She's a microbiologist. She is also the host and founder of the TAPA podcast. So for those of you who don't know the TAPA podcast, you guys have to follow. That is the Tales of the African Princess in America. So she is royalty. Okay, y'all. And she's also an expert in getting your green card. I always get that question because I'm a first generation American. So I've never had to go through the process of applying for green card, but a lot of family members always ask me about, applying for visa, applying for green card. So she even has an excellent ebook called From F1 Visa to Green Card, y'all. So this Nigerian American queen, this royal queen, y'all, okay? Y'all need to follow her. She is just brilliant. So thank you so much for being on our show, dear. How are you today?
I'm doing really good. We've been at home for a while, and so I've kind of gotten used. It's Mother's Day anyway, so I want to give a shout out to all our mothers. Happy Mother's
Day. All the mothers, expected mothers, adopted mothers, everybody that has a mother, that takes care of a mother, all of you.
And even all the ladies out there who are aspiring to be mothers, I think we leave them out a lot on Mother's Day. And so, happy Mother's Day to you guys.
Happy Mother's Day. I actually posted something today about that. I said, those that are aspiring to be mothers, those that are struggling, fertility treatment, all of that. Like, people don't know. Those, that have had miscarriages. I've lost a child. I know how it is to have a miscarriage. So God forbid, anybody goes through that type of experience, but it's a blessing, to become a mom and also to have a mom. We have great mothers and grandmothers that have taken care of us. So salute, all the moms, the grandmothers, because it takes a village. So all of you. Yes.
It does take a village.
Blessings. So, okay, so let people know who you be. You know what I'm saying? So, I just gave them an overview, but you can give them, just a little snippets.
Right. Okay, so my name is Ozzy, and I like to tell people I am a microbiologist, I'm a scientist. I'm also a podcaster, so just like Tomi herself, Dr. Toby Omoba.
Yes,
I also have a podcast. But really, what I spend a lot of my time doing is, I work with this disease called sarcoidosis. It's a rare disease, and a lot of people, when they get it, mysteriously, some of them will get better, but for the majority of them, if they go ahead and get worse, it usually ends in loss of life. And so that's what we're trying to figure out, like, why people get this rare disease. It affects like African Americans like disproportionately, and that's not just with sarcoidosis, that's like with every disease you think about. Yes, it's like we just have it bad, and it's a lot of socioeconomic problems, but we still have, there's a genetics angle that we're looking at. And so I just work on trying to figure out why people get this disease, especially African American women. And so that's really what my work is about.
That is great.
And like you said, I also have this side to me where I, talk a lot about immigration. And the reason is because I moved to America after my university, right? So I'd gotten my undergrad at Babcock University, if anyone knows where that is, in Nigeria.
Shout out to Babcock.
And so I got my Babcock, my undergrad degree in microbiology also. And I moved to the US because somehow I heard that, I could go directly from a bachelor's degree to getting my PhD. And I was like, I really want that. And so that's what happened. But you know how it is, like when you move to America from Nigeria as a student, if you want to stay in America and you want to practice, or you want to live out here and work, it's a journey. You have to get the right documentation, right? Green card is like the next best thing. And so I spoke to my employer about, filing for my green card for me. And it didn't work out. They were like, oh, this entry level that you are right now, we don't usually do that for people.
Okay.
Yeah, because apparently it was going to cost them a lot to file for me, and I just gotten the job. So I figured out a way that I could do it where I could just apply myself. I could just ask the U.S. government to give me the green card, because I was bringing something valuable to them. And that's what I talk a lot about with my immigration.
So you stepped out in faith. Yeah. You see why I say she a queen? Like, she didn't wait for other people to help her. She didn't take no as an answer. And I know so many of us have testimonies of that, when people be like, okay, well, you didn't, just because I'm a junior staff or mid-level or entry level, that doesn't mean that I'm not worthy and I don't bring value to the table. Obviously, that's why y'all hired. You know what I'm saying? Right. But the inequality in the system. But I love how you didn't let that stop you. So I mean, big ups to you. So when you applied, how was that process? Did it take long? Like, what's the time frame from when you applied to when you actually got it?
It did take a while, because actually what took the longest was just putting together that application. The application process took the longest, because I had to, I was pretty much going to write a letter to them and tell them, hey, listen, I'm valuable and I'm bringing something to the table. I think you guys should keep me here. But I had to show them why they would do that.
Right.
So I had to collect like recommendation letters, not just from people, not from people who knew me personally, but people who knew me because of my work. Professionally, experts in my field. So I had to get letters, and then I had to, get all my awards. If I had awards, I had to get, if I had ever been invited to give a talk somewhere, I had to get evidence of that. I had to get evidence of the papers I published, my citations. And it was such a long process of putting these things together. And I was thinking to myself the whole time, there has to be an easier way out. Someone must have done something to make this super easy. And I was like, that's when I made up my mind that I was going to, show people how to do it and just write that ebook. So it's more like a toolkit where I'm just telling you the steps and exactly how to do it, so you can save time. And so I turned it in. Yeah. As soon as I turned it in, a lot of time is actually spent waiting to hear back. But start to finish, it can take about a year. And it's just because they have other cases that, lined up. Right. And they're going to...
That's still pretty good.
There's so many steps to
it.
That
process 2 years, 5 years, girl.
And the good thing is you don't have to pay anybody. You can do it yourself. You can self-petition. You don't have to pay any lawyers to do it.
Wow. No immigration lawyer.
You don't need a lawyer. No. And that's the reason why I did it myself. Is because at that time I was so broke. I'm telling you, like, I called a lawyer and she's like, it's $400 an hour, to ask questions.
Who can afford that?
I don't have $400 an hour. And then she's like, yeah, by the way, if I'm going to put this together for you, it might cost up to, $7,000-8,000. And I just knew I couldn't do that. So that's kind of how it started.
So, y'all, as I started, I said, this girl is a queen. When I read her background and connected with her podcast, one, I want to let you know that, it don't be small thing that you paid the way forward, because there's a lot of people, and I mentor a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people get jobs, fellowships and everything. And I struggled, you know what I'm saying? Like I was a trailblazer when, I went to the CDC. Like nobody, when I tell people like, okay, I, was born here, and I said, okay, I was very strategic. So I said, I'm going to go to Emory because it's right next door to the CDC,
right?
And I want to get my master's in public health. And then I said, and I'm going to get a job with CDC office in Nigeria, U.S. government. They're still going to be paying me in dollars. I'm still going to be of value to their team. So I was speaking this at the age of 21, 22. This has never been done. They've never had a young Black girl, especially not a Nigerian American, be posted at their diplomatic ancestral nation. It has never been done. So it was like a taboo. I had Nigerians, you know what I'm saying, talking me down and saying, oh no, you know, you shouldn't go back, the corruption in the system. And I said, no, but if I don't do it, who would do it? So one thing I did was, you know, you did your research. People don't know that doing your research, how you put your application together is key. Having mentors, you got recommendation letters. So I started searching for other Nigerian trailblazers in the field of public health. So from my undergrad, from my Dr. Jerry to Dr. Amuwo, he now linked me with Dr. Rashid at CDC, Dr. Omotaya Bolu. And these were my recommendations, you know, to the country director then, who was Wayne Duncan. May his soul rest in peace. He died like a year or two ago of cancer. He was my greatest mentor. He was Jamaican American. That was the time when CDC overseas offices, they only had about 5 country directors that were Black that were leading the CDC. All the other ones were not Black. So for him to be positioned, you know, at that time, for the first Black, you know, Jamaican American Black guy, he was the one that appointed me to go and work with him at CDC Nigeria. So, you know, it's, you know, having the faith, like I was the first class of CDC FLEDOs for the Global AIDS Program, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. It just started that year. Like, you know, it's been 16 years of the PEPFAR program and, you know, trying to fight epidemic control for HIV and TB. But I think that it's extremely important when, you know, you struggle to do something, people weren't there, and, you know, you didn't take no for an answer. You're like, okay, well, I don't know anybody that's been through this process, so I'm gonna just step out in faith. I'm gonna do the work. Like, people see you now, you know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, Dr. Ozee, she's stunning, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. She's prospering, but they don't know the path that it took you to get to success. And that path is usually not easy, especially if you like the first in your family or the first within your community that has really trailblazed, you know what I'm saying, this process and navigated the immigration. I mean, pretty much you did the job of like the immigration lawyer. You're like, look, I can't afford a lawyer, so I go do the job myself.
Exactly.
You know I can't afford a counselor. I can't afford a social worker. And then you didn't stop at you succeeded. You now make sure that other people, look, you can pay the way. Like, she got an ebook, like, you know, support. Like I tell people, you can sow seeds in other people's community, but you can't, you know, pay to get counseling and consultation from people in our community that have paid the way. So like, people need to take, I've actually like referred a lot of my friends and family members to your podcast when they ask me, about visa and green card. I'm like, yo, this is the link to Dr. Ozee podcast and Instagram page, because you know, and if you want to know the way, yes, and we got to support each other. But you know, most of the time we don't even look for experts within our own community. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I think that is extremely good.
Exactly.
You are a queen.
Thank you. Yeah. And you know what? Something you said, 2 things actually you said kind of stuck out to me. So you talked about doing your research, and you know what? Like, a lot of times we don't do our research. This information has been on USCIS website for the longest, right? You go on their website, you see that they have provision for people who are exceptional and who can show their advanced degrees and show that they're bringing something to the US. But a lot of times when I was in grad school talking to my friends about, you know, how I was going to stay back in the US and do work here, you know, the only 2 options people would say was, you know, you either get married to an American citizen, or you get a job and miraculously they file for your green card, you know. But no one really talked about the fact that you could get it this other way. So a lot of times, you're right, you need to do your research, you guys. You need to find that information, and if someone gives you the information, you need to run with it. Another thing that you said that really stuck out to me is mentorship. Like, people of African descent, we need to start working together. When I was in grad school, I wanted to be in a lab of someone from Jamaica, right? And someone called me aside, another lady from African descent. She called me aside and she said, I don't think you should go to that lab. And I was like, why? And she said, well, he only looks out for people from Jamaica, right? And you're not Jamaican, you're Nigerian, so he's not going to help you out. And I thought about it and I was like, okay, but I'll go to his lab and I'll figure it out. I'll see if I get the vibe, you know, in the lab and see if I want to be there. But when I went to that lab, I absolutely fell in love with the lab. My mentor was so good, like everything worked out. So you need to reach out. Like, don't box yourself.
And people that's from the Caribbean, the African too. I tell people out of many way I want.
Yeah. So everyone I'm talking to you about, actually, I didn't want to call them Caribbean. They're actually Caribbean, but I didn't want to say that. They actually, that's why I say African descent. Like, person who told me not to go to that lab was also Caribbean, but I just said African descent because we're all one. I want us to see it as we being one, you know? And so really, I'm just saying, if I have something that you would need, learn to reach out. Don't start telling yourself all these narratives about how, oh, she's not going to help me because she's Nigerian. She's only going to help Nigerians. No, I give my information to everybody, you know? And so that's the reason why I want it out there. Like, I have this ebook. I have to tell you, 99% of people who bought my ebook are not from Africa. They're not Africans.
Hey, wait. Repeat that, so repeat that for my listeners. You know the hear what, you guys.
Let me tell you guys.
You said the majority is not us. It's other people.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I created, fortunately or unfortunately, think of how, I don't know how you're going to view it, but I created this resource, especially for people like me, who, you know, probably in the same shoes that I was at that time. But now I just noticed that, you know, I get people buying my book, even from outside America, because you can apply for this category from overseas as well. You know, so I have people, you know, buying the book. What I do see is that a lot of our people would want it for free, you know, and I have a lot of free resources. So I have free Zoom classes. I have a ton of information on YouTube.
Your podcast
my podcast is there.
You give out.
I actually have a free,
let me stop you. Let me stop you, Queen. Let me stop you, Queen, right there, because this is what I also get to.
Right.
You know, when I'm mentoring people and I'm like, okay, send me your CV.
Right.
You know, and I tell them, I said, look, when I look over your CV and I help you do your CV, I said, that's a cost. I said, if I do it the first time for free, I expect you, one, to either refer somebody else, you know what I'm saying, or I can give it to you at a discount rate, but you don't appreciate, you know what I'm saying, people's services, their time, their talent, and their treasure.
Right.
If you don't sow a seed. Yes, if you my family, you know what I'm saying, I can give you a discount, but it's very disheartening.
Yeah.
It's very disheartening. You know what I'm saying? My mom has a cookbook. I paid for my first copy of her cookbook. I didn't say, you know what I'm saying, because she be mom seed that mommy, you know, give me Tomati cookbook for free. No, you know, because it's like sowing a seed, and there's no way that if you sow a seed and bless somebody in their business, that the blessing won't still come back to you, even 100-fold, you know, pressed down, running over. But I'm really, you know, shocked that, you know, that is consistent. And I was like, wow. I was like, I hope a lot of our people, but unfortunately it's not. Like, and we need to change that. And then you're wondering, oh, you know, you're going to the old fashioned way. Many people think, oh, you have to marry somebody, arrange marriage, this, that. I said, no, like they'll be fasting and praying. For something that you can do yourself. I tell people, I say, I never have fasted and prayed for no visa, because I always tell people, I said, the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, and I know my work. So if I apply for somebody's country a visa and they did not give me a visa, then that is their law. You know,
exactly.
There's so many other beautiful countries that I have visited, from Dubai to South Africa to, you know, the islands. It ain't only America. You understand? So even if one country turn you down, I know people that have been turned down by America, and I'm like, look, and they worked with me at the CDC in Nigeria and at the embassy. And I told him, I said, okay, well, apply for Canada. And I said, and I think, you know, Canada has a lottery. I don't really know that much about Canada. And I linked him. Right. And I linked him to somebody at the Canadian embassy. And, you know, him and his fiance applied, and they're in Canada now.
Oh, wow.
Like, I never, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, I didn't even know anything about it. I just made that recommendation off the bat. Like, okay. No problem. That America turned you down, and you even work at the embassy. Do you understand? You're a locally employed staff at the embassy, and they turned you down for that. So it's not a big deal. Do you understand?
Not a big. You know, you're amazing. Actually, just thinking about all the things that you've done, and you know, I'm really not about selling people a product. It's not really about that for me, because I have a lot of freebies that I've been giving. So I have these free Zoom classes. I have a free sample of my ebook. You know, but initially I thought that people, you know, our people didn't really know that I had this going on, and so I started to offer a lot more free stuff. And then I noticed that they were actually coming for the free stuff. So they'll send you these emails that have 50 questions about the process, and I'm just like, it's all in the toolkit. Like, if you get the toolkit, my toolkit has like sample documents. So in my exact petition, I put it in there. I give you sample recommendation letters, how to ask, like everything is in there. So if you ask me 50 questions,
it's a toolkit. I mean, she pretty much walks you from start to finish,
yeah.
y'all.
And if you ask
So
questions,
it's a great investment. It's a great investment, y'all.
But yeah,
I don't understand. Like I tell people, I say you would pay thousands, to do. I mean, let's be real. Some of our people have done arranged marriage.
Oh yeah,
you have to pay for that.
Some people are still paying.
Of them have to go to immigration lawyer.
Yeah, some people are still paying.
Lawyer not be free.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Lawyer not be free. Some people, our own people, even to get ordinary visa. I know people that have paid millions in Naira to just, please help me apply and put my application down for visa.
Yeah.
You guys. Well, and this one, it does ordinary ebook that is giving you the toolkit. This is a toolkit. It's not just a book that you're just gonna read, and after you read it, you don't have any samples. I love toolkits. Yeah. I prefer those ones because a toolkit, you can, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You have the tools right there. You have the templates already. So if it's a government form, us that is here in the U.S., we're Americans. We understand now how to fill out government forms. If you're a foreigner and this is your first time, it's a very hard process, even for a typical American that is not really educated, didn't go to school. Right. To navigate those government forms can be complicated. If she already has a template, y'all, pre-filled, giving you a sample, that was supposed to go, right. And then you're still asking for free stuff. I don't know.
It's okay. I think if you get, people, when you get to a point where you really, really need something, you look for the resources. And I just want you to know that you can get your green card. You can self-petition for your green card. You don't need a sponsor. You don't need a lawyer. You can do it yourself. You have to have exceptional abilities and you have to have an advanced degree, and you can do that. And if you want to look that up, you can look up EB2 NIW, and it's super easy.
Yes, and you mentioned USCIS. So for those of you guys don't know what USCIS is, United States Customs and Immigration Service. So .gov. So I think it's www.uscis.gov for government, y'all. So there's information out there, and how I knew, because my dad had immigration issues that I had to contact USCIS on. So things like that, like people, in the day of technology, you guys, and Google and social media, there's no excuse for you not to do your research. I'm old school. I used to have to go to the library. We didn't have a computer. We used to take turns, and we had to.
You look so young, by the way. You don't look when you talk about these things. Years, I'm just like, what? Isn't she like 30? She's like 25.
I'm 38. I'm
telling you.
Amen.
You don't look 38. You look really nice and young. You look nice.
Oh, thank you. Bless you. Oh, you just made my day, Dr.
But you know what? I always wonder, what's the inspiration behind your podcast? Like, why did you start this podcast? It's really cool. I love the idea, but I'm always interested to learn why people start, these kind of things.
The reason why I started, because I thought that I have a very unique background, and I wanted to also pay the way forward and let people hear me and use the power of technology to reach people. So I'm shocked. I love how the podcast, it can show where your listeners are from.
Yeah,
so I
love that.
People listening from all over the world. But the main thing is, as a public health person, I started the Wellness and Wahala podcast is, first I did the research. I'm like, okay, there's something like that, exists. So I wanted something cool. So Wahala, it was like the fun, cool part of it. And, a lot of people have issues and problems that, so I'm very strategic, and I really pray how I pick my guests, because I'm like, okay, even you, I'm like, this girl, Dr. Ozzy, she's a queen, and, and what you're doing and paying the way forward, and you have a microbiologist background. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You marry, you're a very busy person. You don't have to do this. You know what I'm saying? I'm a single mom, I've been through a bad divorce. I've been through a lot of trauma through the process, but a lot of people see me and they're like, oh, they think everything is all good.
Rosy.
And I'm like, no, if I tell people my process, y'all will be shocked. So, and even just working with the U.S. government, being the first time, going to Nigeria, working with CC in Nigeria. When Obama got in, I came back and I worked for President Obama, still under the President's Emergency Plan, but under President Obama's Global Health Initiative, and I was in charge of countries in East and West Africa. My last post, I was a deputy PEPFAR coordinator for Jamaica. So it was, I just came back from Jamaica just a few months ago, last year, August, and it was just just pretty much to pay homage to my mentor, Wayne Duncan, who actually gave me my first job, out of Emory. And I, just graduated recently with my DRPH. So I was doing that online and hustling at the same time. So it's not easy. And I tell people, like, so I started a podcast pretty much to show people that, look, you can do it. You know what I'm saying? I became, a person working for the U.S. government in Africa, in my motherland. I've worked in Africa, I've worked in the Caribbean, and I've also worked for other organizations, even outside of the U.S. government. So I have broadened my expertise working for international NGOs and implementing partners, funded by the government and other grantees, the Bill Gates Foundation. And so I thought it was really good, too, because one, nobody in my family, ever was a bearer of a diplomatic passport, and especially at the age of 25. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So for me to, so cool, be a young mom, you know what I'm saying? But then I was going through a divorce and still working, still trying to hold it down. That's why it takes a village, thank God for my mom, thank God for my sisters, my younger sisters. So, and my younger sister, she also studied public health. My other sister, she's actually an Afrobeat artist, TT Low Key.
Oh,
so
wow.
I actually...
what's her name?
TT Low Key.
Oh, wow.
So,
I love the name.
Yes, so she actually, her first degree is in public health, but she's always, how our Nigerian parents are, you must go to school,
Yes, so
if you tell somebody
cannot be an artist,
sing, right? But now you have all the Burna Boys and all the T.Y. Savage.
I know, right?
But when we growing up, right, we can't tell our parents, Mom, you know what I'm saying? No. I want to be an Afrobeat. What do you mean? You want to prostitute yourself, or our people are something else? But so now the appreciation of music and so many gifts. So the podcast, I just wanted to have like a unique podcast that I talk about, health issues, but then also like, current affairs and the different wahalas that people are facing. Like right now, this is a pandemic, but a lot of people, want to migrate. We're global citizens. So, the process of migrating, or people even being here, being professionals and not knowing, how to apply for this process. And many people, have been scammed also in the past by, fake people that say, oh, don't worry, I got the answers. And, I know people that have been scammed, they pay money and then they go off, they don't help them. So for you, what I'm saying, to provide a lot of your services for free and a toolkit with the templates and forms that people can apply for, it is like brilliant. And, and I always love like supporting people that pay the way forward, because a lot of mentors and leaders pay the way forward for me. I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for the leaders and the mentors in my life. And that was one of the main things that, they pass over to me. Like, look, as I help you, you might be a junior staff now, but as you get, senior, and any opportunity you are, like whether you're a volunteer or whatever, you have the power to pay the way forward. So even if you can't give somebody a job, you can give them information, that you have that can lead them to a job. You can supply them with links, to different companies that are applying. You can, my sister is also, that's an Afrobeat person. She's an HR specialist. So sometimes, I say, okay, if you work, in this field, I'll send people to her. If you need help with your resume, it's looking within your area and providing, information. And information is power. So I tell people, I say, yes, I might not be able to give you money. You know what I'm saying? Now people always want money. Yeah. They want handouts.
They always want money.
Give me fish. That African proverb, they say, it's not about giving fish. It's teaching somebody how to fish. Go catch your own fish.
How to fish.
It's not about me giving you fish. So your podcast is very, very powerful, and also I like how you still kept the African style, you know what I'm saying? And you're still proud of where you come from, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
It shows, the tales of an African princess. We are royalty, y'all. So a lot of people have so many misconceptions about people in Africa. And a lot of my friends, I have to school them like, I don't know what y'all see on TV, but the horses that you think that my people, ride in, they got Mercedes, Bentleys, they ride in better cars. They got cooks, they got nannies. A lot of my family members that are well-to-do in Nigeria, they would never want to come here. They just come here for shopping, maybe send their children here to go to school. That's it. They're not leaving their country. So, and even me, I tell people I love being American, but definitely when I retire, I'm going back home. So
yeah, it's definitely a different experience living in America and visiting. Actually, you know, a lot of times when people visit, oh my God, I'm just like, you guys are rich. Like the way they spend money, cash, $100 bill everywhere. Yeah, I get that they plan for these things, but yeah, you can also be very successful in Nigeria. You know, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
You can be successful anywhere. I think it's a mindset thing.
It's a mindset.
And I'll tell you a secret. Really, when I was in Nigeria, you know, I'm the last of my family. Just being surrounded by a lot of people who, you know, who think the same way. I thought growing up that you just had to marry into a rich family to be successful. That was the mindset. And it wasn't just me. A lot of my friends shared that mindset at the time. Because in certain communities, it's just like marriage is the ultimate. Like you're a woman, you're being groomed for marriage, you know? And that's another thing that I always try to tell girls. I try to educate girls back home is, yes, you can have a successful family. Yes. You can have a happy marriage. But that's not all there is to you as an individual. You can also have a successful career. Right. You know, you can also dream up things and have a podcast and go to school and get another degree and, you know, dream of things and see them happen, start a business, you know. So that's the thing I want for the girl child really is it's not all about, oh, you know,
marry somebody,
find a husband.
Right. Be a housewife. Yeah, that's probably why my first marriage didn't work. Because he was like, I thought you were going to turn into a housewife. I said, you knew I wasn't going to turn into a housewife. So I don't know how, you know, and I think that's a good point that you say, because in our culture, you know, and it's not just in Nigeria, a lot of African countries, even in the Caribbean, I saw that a lot, that when there's a woman, well, marry a successful person. You know, like your husband, I think he's a doctor too. Yes, he's successful, but a real successful man, you know what I'm saying, is going to stand by his queen. You know what I'm saying? So those are the men, you know what I'm saying, that are equally married to doctors, ambassadors, you know what I'm saying, women presidents, like the woman president of Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? They got husbands that support them, and that doesn't make them, you know what I'm saying, less of a king. He's still a king. He's still the stunner. He's still running this. However, you know what I'm saying, he knows that he has to have his queen right by him. Like, this is an empire. You know what I'm saying? You don't run no family by yourself. It's not easy being, you know what I'm saying, a single mom, running your stuff by yourself, or a single parent. There's some single dads, but when you have somebody that believes in your dreams, you know what I'm saying, and partners with you, you know, I think he was even one of the episodes on your podcast. I think I listened to him too. You feature him on your podcast. I think that was excellent. You know what I'm saying? Like when you have, you know, that type of dream and letting girls know that look, it's okay to dream and to dream big and to aspire big. And at that time, trust me, God is gonna give you a partner that's gonna support you in your dreams, and you're gonna support him, and y'all gonna be y'all just gonna be a deadly combination. You know what I'm saying? Together. But you know, for us, I think, you know, in our society, is us to change it. I think for the next generation, because when we were growing up, that was trust me, it was a taboo. A lot of my aunties too, they're like, you have my style, you haven't even gonna marry, you're going overseas. What do you mean? You need to have children. Can you go and all the girl? Even now, I got some of them old fashioned aunties. They're like, you only have one child. You only have one child. We don't have just one child in our family. Get it going. I said, look, God gives children. I thank God for my daughter, and you know, when at God's time, you know, if I get married and have another child, that's God's time. But yeah, I mean, I was just shocked. And you know, our people are bold; they will call you out. I like
very bold.
Boldness. You know, they never hide this. You know, so don't talk about me behind my back. Let me know. Wait till you think of me, so
they will tell you. You know, my sister actually, one of my sisters, when she wasn't married, she was doing well with her career, and she decided to, you know, buy a car. You know, in here in America, getting a car is not a big deal.
Yeah.
But in Nigeria, once as a single woman, once you start acquiring stuff, people start to look at you weird. Yeah. Someone in my family, you know, actually said that. Why is she buying a car? Like, wasn't she gonna get married? Is someone gonna get married to her with all these things? Like, because you know, the fear was that men would see you as being ambitious, and you would not be able to submit to your husband because now you have stuff. You know what I mean? Yes. And I was like, wow, it's such a backward way of thinking. You know, just because you have don't look for the person who's, all made.
Right.
There are people who say, oh, he's well to do and that's why I want to be with him.
Right.
I'm just like, but you know that you can also be well to do. It's not, you don't look for as a financial for only the financial benefit.
They're not a bank, and you bring something to the table too. You know what I'm saying? Like when somebody tells me, like one guy I was there, he was like, "You lucky to have me." I said, "Dude, you are lucky."
What?
I said that was how that conversation. He was like, because he was a pilot. He was in school to be a pilot when we were in college. So he was like, first of all, I'm the only black guy in my aviation class. So he was very like. And I let him know, and I dumped him, and I was like, no, I'm done. Because I said, if you don't know my word, I said, you need to be with somebody that's going to worship you. I said, I only worship
you. Yeah.
Right. I know they worship. I know they worship that type of thing. And I said, I know my word too. Like, it's your life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I love the reason behind your podcast. I think it's excellent. I think you've done really, really well. I didn't know this much about you, but I feel like I know so much more now. And oh my goodness, you are an inspiration.
Thank you
for this podcast. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for all you do. You are a queen, and migration and immigration and customs issues is not easy. So and a lot of people always try to find shortcuts, an uneasy way of getting things done in life. Like you got your first degree in Babcock. That's another thing I wanted to hell. Like I have cousins that feel, only an American degree is good. No, I have other cousins that went to Babcock, that went to, LASU, that went to UI, University of Ibadan, that went to Ahmadi Bello University. Like, there's great universities in Nigeria. Yes, it could be better. A lot of them have fell off, but at least like what you have access to, if that's what you have access to at the time, do your best. You know what I'm saying? That does not mean that you can't aspire to get your higher education degrees, your master's, your doctorate at other, international universities. But if that's what you have access to and that's what you can afford at that time, you can still, do the thing. So, and do it well. So you got your first degree in Nigeria, then you came here, then you pretty much walked yourself through that process, y'all. So you guys that are hearing this, now serious single. So all of you guys that asked me for this, I'm going to send you guys this link and to her podcast and to her template, her toolkit, because it's extremely important to get that toolkit to understand how you can get the green card process without depending, like the other two processes, you have to depend on others. If you're trying to marry somebody else, that's dependent on somebody else that you think you're going to find a spouse. Let me tell y'all, that's not easy. Okay? To find
it's not.
You can find anybody. If I wanted to just get married to anybody, I can get married to them. To find a good God-fearing spouse is not easy. So, but doing your hard work and bringing what you have to the table, you're already a professional, then definitely, like, this is a great route for a lot of our people that are extremely professional and educated, because there's a lot of Nigerians that are extremely brilliant, both here and abroad, that are struggling to get their green card. So, and eventually their citizenship. So, and that was going to be my next question, that, are you stopping at the green card, or are you going to apply for your citizenship? And if you apply for your citizenship afterwards and took the test, how long was that process?
Okay. So I don't know, actually. With my green card, I'm actually fine.
Okay.
Because the only thing you cannot do with your green card is vote, right? And I feel like, I'd love to vote eventually, but that's just the only thing you cannot do.
Okay.
So, but 5 years after you get your green card, if you get it through this process, 5 years after you get your green card, you can apply for your citizenship.
Okay.
And you take a citizenship test. Ask you a lot of current affairs, like questions on the Constitution, just basic history about America, and that's it. You get your citizenship. So I think when we get to that point, I guess we would figure out because a lot of people who have been in America for years and they just decided not to apply. But the good thing about it is, being Nigerian, we can hold dual citizenship. So I can still hold a Nigerian passport and still be a citizen of America. And so that's something that I really love it here. I think America is a great place to live. I love the opportunities that we have here. Especially love that there's provision for research, so you're able to find out, like, look at COVID-19. A lot of people are working, they're putting the money there. I don't mean to throw Nigeria under the bus, because they're doing well with what they have, but I read something in the headlines the other day where they were like, if you can find the cure to COVID, then they put a price money to it. And I was just like, that is not how research is done.
Right.
Research costs money. You don't. It's not like a price. Like whoever finds the cure. No.
Right.
You give them the money, tools to do the work.
Right.
And that's one of the things I love about America is they give you the tools to do the work.
Yeah.
And so that's why after I was trained here, I decided to stay back here and work here as well. So I would love to stay back and put my skills to good use here, but I'll also love to find a way to help in Nigeria.
Yeah.
I don't know when the government is going to really fund and help research out. Doing it privately is going to cost a ton,
Right.
But I'm just trying to figure out ways that my expertise would also benefit the people in Nigeria, because I think that's really important.
So what I would advise you, so I always tell people, I don't take things for granted, at least my diplomatic training and exposure. So I don't just settle for one, just like the regular people, or trying to contact a big old guy, the Nigerian government, or like a university, a research institute to start. If you see that is missing, you're the trailblazer. So I always tell people, like, I don't take no for an answer. So I'll say, okay, if it comes to Nigeria, you're here in America. So who do you have contacts with? There's a Nigerian embassy here. So make that proposal, just one page, and say, look, this is who I am. This is what I'm proposing. And this is because they have desk officers. So they have public health desk officers at the embassy, or liaisons, so, and diaspora affairs, desk officers, and foreign policy. They have different desk officers. So you can address it to the Nigerian ambassador, but they will assign it to whoever, whoever's the diplomatic officer that's in charge of health or economics or environment, whatever the key subject topic is. Then I tell people, I said, if you holler at Nigeria, because we know how our people be, and they do not reply, I always say, okay, well, we don't have to just focus on Nigeria. I'm an African, so maybe
take it to another country.
Take it to not another, just another country. Still include Nigeria, because I'm Nigeria by heart. But I go take it to the regional level. So then I'll say, okay, Nigeria messing up. I go to ECOWAS, which is the Economic Commission of West African State, and I'll write my petition, and I'll write it there, my proposal petition there. If I know they hear from ECOWAS, I go take it to the African Union level. You understand? And they all have liaisons here in the U.S. because you might contact their head office. But it might be long, but now because of technology, and now, thank God, because of this pandemic, a lot of those emails and stuff that was not working, their websites were down, and
everything's working now.
Everything now working because they by force, so there's some blessings out of this pandemic that people don't know. Telework policy, the work-life balance, working at home, it is excellent. Like, I work from home now, I have a better balance with my daughter, like it's just better. So I tell people, I never take no for an answer. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you tell me no, maybe God is just not using you to be the blessing. So I go over you. Do you understand? But I go follow protocol. I will follow protocol. So, diplomatically, you have to follow protocol. And
I like that.
Because they might ask you, when you go to ECOWAS, okay, have you presented this or to the Nigerian presidency or, to the governor or somebody in Nigeria? You say yes, and I didn't get a response. So that's why I'm going to the ECOWAS level. ECOWAS don't give you a response, I go to the African Union. And I'm pretty sure that if you go at that level, one of them would at least, get back to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then, that's great. That's actually great advice. I hadn't thought about it that way. One of the things that I guess we're blessed with our research is, another thing I'm going to say is, I'm definitely going to look into doing that. But there's a role for private citizens as well. So most of our research is actually funded by people whose families are affected by this disease, right? Because it's a rare disease. That means that less than 300,000 people have it in the population.
Yes.
But people whose families are affected actually fund a lot of our work. So one of my first grants, the first grant I ever got was $250,000 from a foundation that was, set up by people who were affected, right? And then we have a family giving us millions too to work on this stuff. So, let's not leave it all for the government. Yes, the government, at this point, they're really, I don't know what they're doing in Nigeria, but there are people, if you're affected, if something really affects your family, you can't set up a foundation. Right. You can't put money aside. You can't support research that would, directly impact the people around you. And that's something that a lot of people aren't really doing or aren't really talking about.
No. And you just said a good thing, that
Mm-hmm.
private foundation. So you don't just have to rely on like the government, you know what I'm saying, or a
Mm-hmm.
public
Mm-hmm.
institution. You should also, rely and on the private sector, which is also in the community, and they do a lot of funding of research. And I would say like contacting Africa, top foundation. So I don't know if you've heard of Trust Africa. So I've worked with them when I was working on a food security project, and they funded one of Auckland projects, and it's pretty much some African billionaires that came together and created like a trust fund to go towards different development projects. And I know they fund research and other things. And even if they don't support, your specific research is new, you know what I'm saying, to them, you can make a case, you know what I'm saying? So I would say also contact, the foundations there. They have the Aliko Dangote Foundation. They have so many different private foundations. And you make a case and say, look, ma'am, this is why I think we need this, and if you guys can be able to pilot this innovative project. So I always tell them, when you write that type of proposal, tell them, look, give me a pilot, give me 1 year, 12 months to show you how this project, if you see some progress, you can continue to extend the fund, the grant over 5 years or whatever. But there's a lot of billionaires in Africa, and even if they don't have a foundation, you can holler at them. I won't say a lot different people, even in our community, from the east to I know Igbo guys, Hausa guys, different. I mean, they got money. Do you understand? They have private companies and foundations, and that are certified, that have been in the community. So it's like, okay, well, if government is not jumping on it, that doesn't. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
Yes. So great job.
Thank you.
So I wanted to also ask, how can other people like link up with you that doesn't know your podcast? So tell them your.
Okay, so if you'd love to reach out to me, you can email me. Actually, my email is talesbydrozy@gmail.com. I do have a website. It's www.talesofanaFricanPrincessInAmerica.com.
Okay.
And also my podcast is the same name, Tales of an African Princess in America.com. Now I know everyone is on Instagram these days, so if you'd love to find me on Instagram, it's just African Princess in America, or you can find me there. So that's really how you can reach me. If you search African Princess in America on Facebook, Instagram, or even the podcast Tales of an African Princess in America, you'll find
Thank you. And how can people download also your ebook toolkit? The from F1 visa to green card toolkit.
Yeah. So the from F1 visa to green card toolkit is really just designed, so it's not for everybody, but it's for people who have advanced degrees. And for advanced degrees, we're just saying bachelor's degrees and above, right? So bachelor's degrees and years of experience. You can feel like you have years of experience in that field. And then you have to have exceptional abilities. Exceptional abilities just means that you've been recognized in your field for being significantly above your peers, or what is recognized as being average in that field. So for instance, there's so many doctors in America, so many microbiologists in America. But why are you exceptional? It means that you probably have published papers, you probably have citations, you've been invited to speak, you have grants.
Okay.
Yeah, things like that. Anything that sets you aside, any achievement that you have is considered a way of saying that you're exceptional. And so if you'd like to go ahead and download the ebook, I do have a free version of it, and so you don't have to get it until you know that you need it. But if you want to download the free version, just go to my website, talesofanaFricanPrincessInAmerica.com/immigration, and you'll find everything you need on there. I also have tons of free information on YouTube. So if you check me out on YouTube, African Princess in America, you see all my videos. I give you, the juice on every single step of that application. And then, you get to know, if you're eligible, and how you can apply. And then if you want to go ahead and apply, you have all the links. And then we also have free Zoom classes that you can attend as well. So there's so much free stuff out there. But yeah, just go ahead and contact me or look me up on Instagram or YouTube, and African Princess in America, and you can get that information.
Thank you for being on the show and for all your wealth of experience. So I will end with the African proverb of the week that says, a mother is a priceless gold gem that cannot be bought with money. So ìyá ni wúrà, ibi tí kò lè fún owó rà. Okay, that's my Yoruba, my broken Yoruba. I know my people that's Yoruba, you make fun of me, but it's okay. So a mother is a priceless gold gem that cannot be bought with money. So you are priceless, queen. Yeah. I appreciate you. Amen. And I thank you, and God bless you. Bless up to everybody, and I wish you no wahala this period.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye.